Hello
Start us off.
everyone! Welcome to the final round of Challenger League Season 9. We're here in Paradiza in the beautiful Venezuela for our final sprint qualifying of the season. And we've got ourselves on board with Suicide for this single one lap qualifying. He's already made a bit of a mess of that turn one. Ooh.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of pressure going into that first lap. That single lap of qualifying in the sprint where you have to get everything tip top in order, and you just need to focus on it, on not making mistakes.
Of course. We're gonna see now as people are gonna start reaching that final straight away. Who's going to come out on top? And it's looking like it's gonna be Charge JT with the fast lap of the session.
Ooh, 310s, Razim and Kraft tied for second.
Wow, quite lovely. Then it's Isto in P4, 6 tenths behind the leader. Moving further
Then we
on.
have Quetzalcoatl, Sexy and Matty, and starting from 7th, are free from 8th as independent.
And then we're going to go further down. Game 1 Goose in P10. Then the 6th row of the grid, Kalitka and Gorlomi. Eurist in P13. Suicide, Tomatoes, and Enigma will round out the grid. We also had Vepia join midway through qualifying, so he will start at the back in 17th. Well, just taking a look at the standings at the moment, and Kraft and Charge JT have a battle for P2 on our hands. Only a single point between them, and they are, well, assuming things come out the same way as they did, we'll be having them start 1 and 2 for this sprint race.
Let's also not forget the other fight for P2, which is in the Drivers' Championship. Kraft is still leading Charge GT by a single point, and it will all come down to these final two races, and
Yep.
here they go.
There we go, Charge JT getting a good lead. Getting a good start, so is Kraft, Razim, Isto, Gwetzley taking that move around the outside as they head into the big left-hander for the first time. We've got a lot of drivers at the back. What is going on back there? Some Kalitka, Redacted, and Golormi right at the end going all the way wide. What was that? Gonna go back to the leaders for a moment, but it's charged Kraft and Gwetzley, who's gotten off pretty well from P5 on the grid to be with the leaders at the end of lap 1 now. Oh, there was a big shot there! Oh, wow, there is so many drivers. There's a massive pack of drivers behind these two at the moment. As Fabricio actually joins the lobby right now. Isto and Matimar now fighting for P4. They're going neck and neck into this right-hander. What can they do? But, oh, Matimar dips himself to the grass.
But now he finds himself on the inside, but now he gets forced on the outside.
Oh, my
and there's a huge pack of cars behind them, led by Joe Porsche and Sexy Digger, and they might not want to battle too much, or they'll just fall into that pack.
Yeah, you can see right there. Oh, the Sexy Digger really dropped back from that group. Eurus is making a tear through this group, however. Razim getting his way past Joe Porsche as well. Redacted is headed into the pits, and I think he's DNFing for the race. Massive shot there, and Joe Porsche has lost about 5 positions.
Incredible amounts of positions there.
Oh, dear lord.
Ricard running a 3-4 at the current moment.
Ricard is running 3-4 at the moment, but our top two, it's still the same, and they're about as close as they were at the start of this race. It's Charge JT and Kraft actually has the fastest lap. So if it ends as it does, if it ends as it stands right now, assuming, oh wow, Charge JT actually got the fastest lap now.
They would be tied right now going into the feature.
Yeah, but Charge JT has snatched that point away, so he would have a 2-point lead instead. If it plays out exactly as is, it'd be Gwetzley in P2, and he's actually dropped off Matimar quite a bit. He's pretty much running his own race at this point. If he can hold still firm and get himself a P3, that would be solid. Matimar is actually getting chased down by Isto.
Sadly lost the top pack. But,
yeah. Remember, these two were the main guys who got away from that massive heap of cars on the opening lap. But still, like, close enough to be, like, in sort of threat from them, of course. But they're still battling after about 3 laps of just sitting side by side, lap after lap. They just keep going. And it seems like Matimar might have the ascendancy for this time. Isto getting the switchback though, and he gets the inside of this hairpin, and he's going to take the position. Wow.
Eurist and Razim have nearly caught them with all this battling.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's head a little bit back to them. Razim and Eurist going wing to wing on that one corner, and they're still so close. And that'll be a fight for P6 and 7 at the moment. P8 at the moment, though, is Sexy Digger, who's running just 3/10 in front of his own teammate in Game on Goose. Then we've got Tomatoes, Enigma, Golomi, Joe Porsche, Sorcid, and Kalitka rounding us out. Got a drivers still following each other and all that. But it's a massive gap now between Gwetsley and Isto now. It's almost 6 seconds as Gwetsley is able to run quite free of any challenge at the moment, whereas Isto has been running neck and neck with Matimar for essentially the whole race. We're going to go back to the leaders as they are halfway through lap 7 now, and it's still the same. Kraft has literally not moved off of this guy's wing.
That's Kraft. He's really up to slipstream game this season, and
wow!
it's paying off.
JT making an uncharacteristic error there, and it's caught Kraft unawares as well. So they sort of have a bit of contact there, but it looks like things have settled for the time being. Very interesting. Another little mistake there, and it might give the chance of Kraft to take the lead, and he sees it, and he goes for it right there, and he's taken it there. So Charge JT.
He's got the fastest lap as well.
Oh, he does too. So this is going to be even more beneficial for Kraft in that fight for P2 and the drivers.
4-point lead.
Oh, wow.
4-point lead for Kraft and the drivers at the current moment, and JT's making mistakes, and he's lost the slip.
He has lost the sip, and it looks like the fastest driver is going to be the one who's been sitting on the wing of Charge JT for 8 straight laps, but he's now leading the race by almost a second, and he's trying to pull away now.
Out JT though.
That is true. He knows he has pace in spades, and he can really make a difference on those more worn tires. Entering that 10th lap and 11th lap is going to be really difficult for a lot of the drivers on the grid. Going to go back to P4 actually, because we've got Isto still barely in front of Matimar. Matimar is still holding onto that slipstream quite well. Oh, a little mistake from Isto, and it's actually cost Matimar quite a lot of time as well, and he might have actually lost the slipstream there, but no, Isto makes another error. Matimar might have the chance to gain it back here. Further back past that, Razim has gotten into P6, and Eurist has fallen back to 8th. And he's actually challenged by Game on Goose at the moment, who is sitting on his slipstream. Going to go back to the leaders because it is Kraft still in front, but Charge JT is nipping away at that difference. He's still not completely in that slipstream yet, but you can see the tyres are really starting to struggle as we enter the last lap of the race. You can just see the difference in pace compared to their fastest laps now. It's going to be Charge JT having to pray there's an error that he can capitalize on. That's a huge amount of time he's gained on that one corner, and Kraft is now in complete pressure. Charge JT is taking all of those corners so well at the moment. He's right on his tail. All he needs is this one move. He might go for it into this hairpin. He brakes super early. Doesn't see an option there. Kraft also covering the inside so well. They're going to go neck and neck. Charge JT might have got a better exit out of there. It's going to be neck and neck. No, Charge JT takes it by the tiniest bit of wing. He takes the race by just 200ths. Wesley will take P3. It's Isto in P4. Matimar, Razim, Sexy Digger's going to finish in P7, and Eurist will round out our points paying positions. What an intense finish that was. Wow. Kalitka and Suicide riding neck and neck for P13. That's how it'll end. And that's it. Everyone but Redacted will finish the race. And yeah, unbelievable finish to that. He just JT just found that one sniff, found that one opening, capitalized, had that better exit, and just barely pipped his nose in front for the whole final straight. And that does mean that they are tied for the driver's standings at what would be 100 and... No, wait. Yeah, pole doesn't count for a point in the sprint. So yeah, it is 177 each. Yeah, 177 points each for both Charge JT and Kraft exiting the sprint race. 1 and 2, absolute neck and neck battle. That was brilliant to watch. Gwetsley will finish in P3. Lovely result for him. P4 goes to Isto, who is also chasing Gwetsley for P6 in the standings. They are neck and neck. I think there's only a 2-point gap there after the results of this race. Matimar will take P5, followed by Razim. Sexy Digger and Urist will take the last point from this race. Game on Goose in P9, followed by Tomatoes. Then we've got Enigma, Joe Porsche, Kalitka, Suicide, and Gorlomi, with Redacted only retirement from this race. What do you think about that, Kubo?
Quite an interesting race here, and now Kraft and JT are tied for P2 going into the feature. The final race to decide it all. Also great performance from Ricard, 3 and 5, and NPZ, 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Oh, and VEO, 7 and 9.
7 and 9. The main battle,
9,
though,
of course, not
is,
getting points, but
the main
very
battle
solid.
the main battle is really how much can Velocity through Charged take on Nordic Blizzard, who are sitting 4 and 6 at the moment. I think it's a bit of a bridge too far at the moment in terms of points, but that is the teams closest to each other in the constructor standings. Unless we see Bobcat pull off something insane in this feature race coming up. Alrighty, and we are back in it. Our last race of the season, the feature race in Paradiza. We're going to get our 3-lap qualifying underway now. We're going to follow Enigma for this first lap. He's taking a wide entry to get that as much speed as possible into that straight. Going to see him go through those first corners. There's a lot of technical sections in this track, particularly in the first third or so of the lap, and then I'd say it really smooths out afterwards. Like, this section is really a test on the drivers to see how much they're willing to dare when it comes to speed. Ooh, goes a bit wide there. Oh, we got a lot of drivers already making some big moves. Got a 35.52 from Razim at the moment. Gonna follow Charge JT as it is right now. He's currently in P3. Perhaps he's making a better lap this time around. He is only 1/100th behind Razim and Sexy Digger, who are tied, actually. Now that I look at that a bit more. Big gap between those top 4 or 5, who will be challenging in Ultimate League earlier. Charge JT improving to a 35.35 as we head towards our last lap now. Big difference between the top and bottom of the grids at the moment. And Sexy Digger is only 200ths back from Charged. So we'll see if one of those two could out-pip the other. Or perhaps Razim could make a further improvement to really show off his might on this track. We're going to head to the finish line now. No improvement from the top 4 or 5 or... Oh, quite a lot of teams. Razim takes it! No, Razim, with the last lap, takes pole position. And the big thing with the fight in the drivers is that Razim has got a big gap to Gwetsley, and Charge has got a pretty decent gap to Kraft himself. So is Isto, actually. Isto P4 is going to be very important compared to P9 and Gwetsley, and P2 of Charge is going to be important compared to Kraft and P5, though it's Razim on pole position, Charge be alongside. Sexy Digger only 500ths away from that pole in P3. Then we've got Isto in P4, Kraft and Matimar P5 and 6. Then it's Kalitka, impressive P7, followed by Gay Mongoose, Gwetsley and Suicide are 9th and 10th. Then we've got Tomatoes, Joe Porsche, Urist, R3, Golomi, Fabricio, Enigma, and Vepia heading the back of the grid. Wasn't able to get a solid lap in, unfortunately. But yeah, one more round to go. One more race to go. And we're going to see who can take it out. Bit of discussion between the drivers as we head to the final race of the season, as we are almost underway. Okay, well, after a bit of confusion, we've got 16 drivers on the grid. And we're starting ourselves off, and it looks like Razim has stayed on the soft tyres. Charge AT following on the hards as we enter turn 1. Looks like everyone is getting through relatively cleanly at the moment. Matimar going a bit wide. Bit of a slowdown between the drivers in the mid-pack at the moment as he enter this tight section. Seems like everyone's getting a lot better than in the sprint race, that's for sure. Gay Mongoose making some moves here. Charge AT falling down the order. Sexy Digger going wide there. But it's Razim and Isto. The Nordic Thunders. Or the Nordic Blizzard, sorry. 1 and 2.
And a little bit of a lag rocket.
Yeah, a little bit of a lag rocket there. They're still getting around there just fine. But it looks like the top 2 have broken away. And then there's these group of 5 cars. And then a big pack just following them as well. The group's already making themselves known, as we have only gone through a lap and a half of this track of 30. Kraft making a bit of an error there.
Kraft now forced wide.
Ooh, Enigma going wide there as well. That was a big error. We're going to go back.
Gwetsley's fighting good for a record 3-4 at the current moment.
Yeah, that too. Matimar has broken away from this group, and the Charge AT is going to see a bit of struggles here to start us off. Of course, Charge AT and Kraft also on separate strategies. Kraft going for the softs immediately. He's not seeing too much work from that. Sexy Digger going wide there. There's so much contact going in between the cars at the moment. But still, it's just giving the top 2 even more leeway to run away now. Razim and Isto almost 3 seconds in front of the next car. He's got the... Oh, massive shove there. The VEOs having some big lag rockets there. And they're going to push both of them almost out of the points completely. I'm going to switch back to the top 2. And it's looking like smooth sailing for Razim and Isto. But Matimar is trying to get a bit of ground up those 2. Isto will be a little bit vulnerable, though he is on the mediums, so he might be able to stick it out for a lap or 2 longer once Razim makes a stop. Charge AT has actually gone through the pack, Before him, and he's able to
Crap.
keep up on the
Back
hard
up.
tyres ahead of Gwetzley and Kraft at the moment. And Kraft might be viewing the immediate softs because he hasn't really been able to make them work out as well as he's wanted to, especially when compared to his rival here. Going to go into P7 in a 60 digger, almost a full second behind the next three cars, which is Game On Goose Eurus and Joe Porsche all fighting away. There's a big gap there. Oh wow. They're still going. They're still going. Eurus is trying to find an opening there. Joe Porsche is just hoping to keep on the slip as his tyres are starting to age. We've got Razim already into the lane, and he's going to come out around this P7, P8 angle.
Oh, Jesus.
We've also got Joe Porsche into the lane after lap 5 as well. A few of the guys at the back also pitting at lap 5. So Razim, is he on the hards now? So I'd assume he might go maybe hard, medium, or hard, soft for the end of the race. But yeah, he's trying to get that immediate undercut on the rest of the teams behind him. Isto has actually made his stop right now, so we'll have to see how this immediate outlap has gone out for him. They're going to arrive neck and neck, and Razim is going to take the lead once again between the two Nordic Blizzards, but it's Charge JT now in the lead of the race proper, 3.5 seconds ahead of Sexy Digger in second, who are the two drivers who did start on the hard compound and have gotten away quite cleanly. Charge JT is making a few errors here, could give Sexy Digger a chance to recover some time and thus also bring the Nordic Blizzards even closer to that crucial undercut. When we go to this big group, Game On Goose has fallen back a bit. He got shoved off, I'm not too sure why. We've got the two Riker autos chasing Kraft on the hard tyres, and Kraft's day might have gone a bit bad to worse, seeing that Charge JT is leading right now, and he's got a pretty good lead, pretty good distance to where Kraft will end up being when he makes his stop in a lap or two's time. Yeah, going wide and... Oh, wow! Big lack rocket for Kraft and only Kraft. Okay, we've gotten back. Okay. Interesting. Just a lot of contact and a lot of drivers trying to take advantage of each other. Eurus getting shoved through. Matimar tries to get through, and he does. Sawasa trying to make a move here. Eurus... Oh, Sawasa actually also hasn't made a pit stop yet. Unlike Eurus hasn't as well. Matimar and Kraft and Gwetzley have comparatively. So Eurus, I feel like, is trying to play nice. Sawasa may be a bit too aggressive into that last corner. But the moment, Charge JT is still staying out as he enters lap 10. So he's trying to go for a two-stop strategy here. And I think it's already being thwarted by Razim and Isto. He's just way too close to them at the point of time to where the two-stop will easily lose to the three-stop. They've already made their stops, and Razim and Isto are hoping to just slip each other and just keep the pace consistent. Charge JT really struggling on this last lap. Was the other person on the tyres? Sexy Digger actually made his pit stop the last lap, so we're going to see where Charge JT comes out. With a bit of luck, he might be able to hold on to P3 though, and I think that is the case. Though Kraft and Matimar and Gwetzley are right on his tail. And if they behave a bit, they might be able to catch Charge JT on this outlap, but he does have the fresh hards in play at the moment. A few more drivers, Game On Goose and Kolomi coming out of the pits now. I think Kolomi on the softs for his second stop, and Goose on the hards after his first. But they are at the very far back of the grid at the moment, and Charge JT has got almost a full pit stop to work against with Razim and Isto, because those two look like they are going to run away with the race. And currently also Matimar has the fastest lap. I'm going to move to Gwetzley now in P4, who seems to have gotten rid of Matimar and Kraft for the time being. Those hards aren't nearly... His hards still aren't in the greatest spot. I think Kraft did pit a lap earlier than he did. No, they did pit at the same lap. But also, speaking of drivers who pit, massive collision there, and Sexy Digger gets out unscathed. Wow. That is going to be quite a decisive factor in if Sexy Digger can make some moves further up the grid, if he can get into P4, perhaps into the podium positions. Because avoiding both Kraft and Massimo on the alien tyres is going to help tremendously. Wow. Alright, following back, we've gone to P8. Urist is heading Joe Porsche, and Vepia is a lap down from them, actually. Sorry about that. Oh, good with that. Urist is on the soft tyres, but he's starting to lose a little bit grip in them. Joe Porsche has even less grip on his hard tyres, so he might be aiming to go into the lane maybe this lap or the next. He stays out for now. Gonna go with Suicide. The hards. Actually, I should have noticed that earlier, but in the leaders, Isto is now running on his own. And I assume he's going to pit this lap, because at the moment Razim has that undercut, and he's chasing Charge JT, and there's a gap about 2.5 seconds. Both of them go into the lane. And it's going to be Razim having a bit of a lead to his teammate, and he's actually going to be so far in front that Isto won't have the slipstream anymore. Quite an extreme undercut, that is. Now the goal for these two at the moment is to catch Charge JT, who they know also have a single stop to run in this race. Charge JT going for that seemingly optimum 10-10-10 strategy on the hard tyres, but does he have enough pace against those two to really hold on to the lead? And I'd argue it might be not the case unless he can really pull something out of the hat here. Going to go to P4, and it's Sexy Digger with a nice little gap between both Gwetsley behind and Isto in front. Gwetsley almost a full pit stop behind now, but he just made that stop for hard tyres, and he's probably got 5 seconds to gain from Sexy Digger, who is going for that 10-10 as a 10-10-10 strategy, the same as Charge, but of course Charge at the moment is slowly losing time to the two Nordic Blizzards. Sexy Digger is slowly losing time to Gwetsley now. This gap has cut to about 4 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds at the moment. It's really hard to tell with all the slow corners on this track, of course. Going to go back past Gwetsley and to Kraft in P6. He's in a bit of trouble here. I'm not sure if he can really recover the P2 fight in the championship from here. It's been quite a valiant effort from Kraft all season, though. He's been fighting Kubo, he's been fighting Charge JT the whole way, and he's been able to pull off a few upset results, but some things just don't go our way, unfortunately. Matamar into P7 now on those fresh mediums. Behind him, we've got Game on Goose and Suicide, both fighting each other on those hard tyres. They actually pitted on the same lap, hey? So interesting in that regard. They probably also... they also have been going for the 10-10 strategy, but just haven't been able to get the same amount of pace or traffic luck as the two in front of them. Going to go further back, and we're into P10 with Joe Porsche, who is sitting quite nicely after 18 laps. He's comfortable on the hard tyres, perhaps maybe going for a softer tyre at the end of the race. But he's going to have to fight Urist at the moment, who is right behind him, as both Suicide and Game on Goose actually pit for softs, so they're going to go for two sets of softs to round the race out, perhaps trying to get something done, as I know everyone else has a stop to go. We're going to go back to the leaders, because Charge JT has actually lost the lead now, right before his in-lap, so this will help him a lot, having the slipstream for his in-lap, but I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough. Razim does have the pace at the moment, and I'm not sure how long Razim can last on those hard tyres, maybe for 1 or 2 laps longer, but it will be a straight fight between Charge JT and Razim to cap off this season of Challenger League. Isto also in the fight as well, though, and he might have the chance to try a softer compound of tyres easier than his teammates. So Charged comes out in P3, some 4 seconds in front of Kraft, who is now in P4, fighting along with Quetzley. But Kraft will probably have to pit for his last stop relatively soon. Quetzley did make a stop. No, he's still on those hard tyres he's been working with for the past couple of laps, actually. So he will also have to make a stop relatively soon. Sexy Digger has actually also gone for the alternate strategy, has gone onto the soft tyres to maybe challenge his fate a little bit, not go for the intended 10-10-10, because he has lost faith in it there. Speaking of losing faith, Charge JT is coming back right with Razim, and Razim has gotten past him, so Charge JT's really got to hold onto this slips now. He's only got a lap fresher tyres than his rival here, but it also depends on what Isto goes for now that he has the time to go into the pits. He might try an 8-lap stint on those mediums just to give himself a chance. No, he's going to stay on the hard tyres. He will have the fresher of the two, but he is a long way back compared to the two slipstreaming in front of him. Going to go back to P4 now, and it's Quetzley. He's looking quite nice, though he has a big challenge behind him, and his name is Sexy Digger, the Latvian, chasing him now in that yellow car, and it's becoming a struggle now as those hard tyres are really looking out of shape. Sexy Digger did pit a little earlier, he made a bit of an error there, okay. Could give Quetzley just the space he needs. Perhaps he can go for a set of mediums here and try and undercut. No, he's going to try and hold on to go onto the softs. And I'm not sure if that's the right play. Sexy Digger does have another stop to go, of course. But having equal tyres might make it all the easier to fight at the end. Let's go further back. We've got Kraft in P6. He's just made his stop on hard tyres, so he'll be running the rest of the race on them. And he'll be looking to see if he can maybe snatch P4 from Quetzley after his pit stop. And from Sexy Digger as well. So that'll also be another battle to look forward to as both of them head into the pits at the same time. There we go, and Quetzley is going to pip him out of the pits, and they are both on the soft tyres. And they have now got Kraft to chase down, who is about 3 seconds up the road from them. We're going to go to P7 now, and Madimar is finishing that 24th lap as Game Mongoose and Suicide make their final stops now for the soft tyres as well. Joe Porsche and Urist on the mediums already, so they're also making ground quite nicely. Suicide and Game Mongoose might be a fight for P10, which is quite interesting. On those soft tyres, have been quite quick, having I'd say relatively underperformed in terms of race start today. Going to go back to the leaders, and it's actually Charge JT who's leading the two Nordic Blizzards. It's a 3-way train here for the lead with 4 laps to go. Razim has given Isto the preferential treatment because he knows that Isto has the best tyres of the 3 drivers at the moment, and Isto probably has the best chance of taking out Charge JT and getting the win here. This is the Brits' time. Well, which Brit? Could be either of them, honestly. But Razim is also trying to help his teammate in any way he can. Tries to go for a switch back there. It's not going to really work out. Charge JT still holding the lead here. Still quite tight. We're going to go back to P4 for the moment because Sexy Digger and Quetzley are catching Kraft at a rate of knots, and it's looking to come to a head real soon. So this group, and then the group for the top 3, quite a climactic fight at the end of this season. We've got Madimar 12 seconds behind this second group of drivers, but it looks like he's going to hold on for P7, and behind him Joe Porsche and Urist. Suicide and Game Mongoose might be quite close for P10 as they enter the final 3 laps. We're going to go back to the leaders, and Charge AT has actually made up a bit of a gap as they round the hairpin again Though these last 2 corners are going to be the biggest challenge for Charged in terms of winning this race, because he is entering his 9th lap of hard tyres compared to Razim's 8th and Isto's 7th. So can he find some grip? Can he keep the tyres working? Can he find a way to win despite the disadvantage? Oh, he's made a bit of an error there, and Razim and Isto are catching right back up. The drivers have such similar pace across most of the lap, but it's Charge JT who's taking a better corner. Oh, they're inching ever so closer as we enter the final lap now. Charge JT just has to ensure he doesn't make any errors here. He's taking good lines into those first few corners. It's getting really wide. Razim is getting dangerously close, but he's not in a real position to really attack him. Oh, that's a big mistake here. Razim has gotten an opportunity, but he's made a mistake as well. Isto has been blocked by his teammate. Razim might have blown the last chance he had here to take the win. Charge, he goes all in, nothing move there, and he loses to his teammate. Charge JT will take the win at the last feature race of the season. Isto and Razim taking P2 and P3 respectively. And we're going to go back to this battle for P4. It's Kraft and Sexy Digger. Sexy Digger gets a better exit, and he's going to pip Kraft to P4 on the line. Wetsley finishing P6. Oh, another tight finish between close drivers for the whole race. As we say that, Matimar is rounding the final corner, is going to finish in P7 and end the season quite well. Joe Porsche also in P8. Lovely ending for him. P9 Suicide and P10 Game on Goose with Urist in P11. And it's Golomi finishing now, and then Enigma and Tomatoes right behind him. Enigma is slowed up to give Tomatoes P13. That is an interesting play there. And Fabricio will be our last finisher. I think Vepia is... No, Vepia is still going. Vepia is still going. So we'll have to see how long he can run till the end, until the timer catches him up, of course. And did not mention earlier, but Sexy Digger also got the fastest lap of the race with a 35.45. I'm assuming that was on his soft tyres, of course. Well, that is wrapping up our season of Challenger League. Charge JT with that win will take P2 in the drivers' standings. And that'll give Kraft P3. Nordic Blizzard with a 2-3 should be able to secure them quite a hefty points margin. I'm not sure how much that'll affect the fight for P. No, that won't affect anything. That'll just guarantee them P2, sorry. Alright, so Kraft will end up P3 in the drivers. Razim will end up P4 with a sizable amount of points. I think Kato will end up P5 in the end, despite not showing up for this race. Wetsley, I think, has lost P6 to Isto, so Isto will take P6 and Wetsley in P7, followed by Urist in P8. But overall, quite an interesting race. A lot of gaps developed really quickly, and it was a lot of small little bouts throughout the entire race. That fight for the top 3 was quite the entertainment. But I think that's going to be all for today in terms of Challenger League, because we do have our Ultimate League race coming up soon. But yeah, thank you for another amazing season, and we'll meet you in a couple of weeks' time where Season 10 starts us off. CLX bringing us another season of newly talented drivers. And we'll have to see, because a bunch of these drivers also have driven their last races in Challenger League. Charge JT and Isto are not going to be in the presence of this league any longer. So we'll see what happens next. For now though, it is goodbye. We'll catch you next time.